Trev's trade page. I'm the Trev. That's too sweet. Anyway, as Trev continues impatiently waiting for the mail person, patiently waiting to drop off 4 packages that he's been waiting on for at least 3 weeks. One of them's going on a month, and that's local. Trev figured he'd at least finish his ode to the year he started collecting, that being 1988-89, with another oddball but fun set all the same. Today, we're going to talk about the 1988-89 Esso NHL All Star Collection. So let's talk about it. Alright, so released in Canada during the 1988-89 season, Esso All Stars was distributed through Esso service stations in Canada. Yeah, the gas station. Now these were sold by the pack, with 6 cards per pack. I don't know if you could have bought a box. I would imagine you might have been able to, but again, this being so long and me being so young when this came out, I don't really know, but I'm sure it was an option. But on top of that, it also came with a corresponding album, which I'm just finding out for the first time. I was this old when I found out. There's an English version and a French version. But anyway, the album was designed so that if one really wanted to, they could put all their cards in this album. Now the set itself was a 53 card set. 54 if you count the header card that came with every pack. 55 if you count the album. But the oddity of this one was you could only walk away with 48 possible cards of the 53, not counting the header or the album. You would only walk away with 48 because 5 of them were already pre-printed in the album. Those being Eddie Jackman, Al McInnes, Rick Middleton, Bernie Parent, and Pierre Pilote. Now the cards in this set aren't numbered. They're not even listed alphabetically. The way they're structured, at least the way you can read it on the back here, it's by order of appearance, and it basically spans 32 pages. It spans all-stars and players from the 1950s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. And of all the names that are in this set, of all the names that are on this checklist, of the 53 players in this collection, 44, as of today's date, are inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame. That's pretty neat. Now, the design features a facsimile auto in place of a real auto, which I guess makes a lot of sense. I mean, imagine some of these autos might not have been the easiest to obtain. But I think it also gives it a neat little appeal, being, an oddball set and whatever else. And much like the O-Pee-Chee minis that we had previously talked about, you can follow the link there, the card size is different as well. Now, lengthwise, it's about the same size as your basic hockey card. Widthwise, just a touch smaller. I'm thinking about 3/4 to an inch. Less width, but that's just a rough estimate. Now, as mentioned, if one so desired, they could find a way to put the cards in the album. Especially if keeping the cards with the ones that are already in the album together as a complete set in the book. If that was a big deal, then I get it. I mean, I know for me that's not something I would have even thought about. I wouldn't have explored, and there's reasons for that, but I can understand why someone would want to do that. One sense of reasoning in my mind, and this would stop me from even considering it, was I wouldn't do it just for the value of it, to be perfectly honest. I mean, obviously we live in a hobby where near mint to mint is the gold standard. You never really want to go below that. Adding cards to this album, to me, takes it below near mint to mint. You're damaging the album in itself. But that's just what I think. I mean, obviously the way to go with any card from this set, I would figure, would be to grade it. And, as it stands, these cards raw are not worth as much as they should be, being, they're distributed widely through Canada. But I mean, imagine having some of these names, and even if some of them came out a 10, a 9.5, you're still putting more value as a grade than a raw, right? Right. And it's probably much easier to get a PSA 10 Gretzky on this than you would, say, a PSA 10 Gretzky O-Pee-Chee from the same year. Just because that would never happen. Or at least it shouldn't. As far as grading the album would be concerned, though, I mean, from everything I've had a look or an attempt to look on finding, see if I've seen one that has been graded, it's eluding me to this point. So I'm going to go on the belief that the album has never been graded. And probably for good reason. As I'm sure the album, which, remember, was made in 1988, if it really wasn't taken care of properly, not put in some kind of protection or a binder or something to keep it safe, it probably hasn't stood the test of time. But that's probably just an open thought. That should be, I don't know, I'll explain the importance of a good-looking album when I get to my opinion. A fun little set, as I've mentioned, and now we'll get into the story on this one. This is, again, my conclusion to my ode to the 1988-89 Hockey Card Year. And here's how this set made its mark on me. Now, I think it goes without saying, obviously, for 1988-89, little 8-year-old, 9-year-old Trev didn't drive. So me going to Esso to get cards just wasn't going to work for me, brother. But as I was already exploring the 1988-89 O-Pee-Chee and O-Pee-Chee minis, and had the beauty convenience of living in an apartment building with a neighbor who did go to the Esso regularly and had an abundance of doubles from this set. And so this set essentially got me introduced into hockey card trading, as I would trade him some of my double O-Pee-Chees and my double O-Pee-Chee minis, and he would trade me these Essos. He actually had a spare album to boot, which was cool, even though I didn't put anything in it. It was still cool to have. And so that's how I came into this set. Now, the next part, or the nicer part anyway, for a newbie collector like Trev, was when I started out, it was common coming into cards of players and superstars at that time. Like I've explained in the 889 O-Pee-Chee, Gretzky was my first ever hockey card. Coming into Dale Hawerchuk was pretty easy peasy. Even a Luc Robitaille was easy. Mario, Paul Coffey, even Marcel Dion, all superstars during my time or when I started watching hockey. But coming into guys that were before my time, like a Bobby Orr, or a Gordie Howe, or a Beliveau, or a Mahovlich, that was a new experience coming into superstars who were before my time. I mean, my first Gordie Howe, my first Bobby Orr came from this set. So there was no shortage of the superstar effect, whether it was the stars I was growing up watching or the stars that were before my time. It was quite an impression on a newbie collector like me. Now I'm going to go out on a limb to the best of my memory's ability. I don't believe I finished this set when it came out or when I was a kid. But I do remember picking this set up in the early 2000s. Complete set, mint condition, with the album. And the album, it would be mint by today's standards. It wouldn't be near mint to mint, but it might even just squeak in under near mint. But it was presentable enough. The pages were nice. There wasn't an abundance of fingerprints. There was no creases. There was maybe a little softening around the corners, but it was a complete set with a nice album. And I held on to that until life circumstances dictated that I had to abandon my hockey card collection at that time. But if I could come into the set again, yeah, I'd love to. And then I would consider sending what I could for grading. It'd be nice to be able to tickle that nostalgia button every now and again. But as I said, a fun set to work on, a fun set to have. And that concludes my ode to the 1988-89 Hockey Card Calendar Year. So that was another one from Trev's trade page. Get so used to saying hockey show because I'm doing so many hockey show videos, I just keep forgetting to say trade page. Either way, I want to thank you for tuning in. Don't think I don't appreciate the gesture, especially if you've made it to this point. And if you have made it to this point, I'm very thankful for that. You know, it means the world to me that you're at least digging what I'm saying. You're paying attention to the things I'm talking about. So that's always a feather in my hat. I'll take it. So feel free to give me that thumbs up. Let me know you're digging my stuff. If you've made it to this point, if you just want to say, hey, I'm all for it. If you want to, that red button that says subscribe all over it, you should press it. It'll make you feel better. It'll make me feel better. It'll make my algorithm feel better. And it's just overall helpful. I mean, I'd love to get up to 100 by the end of the year, but I understand I have to be a little more consistent on this for that to happen. But either way, Facebook page is in the description down below. Let's move forward. Hopefully that mail person comes within the week, because there is a video I am itching to make, and it's reliant on the postal carrier. So they better hurry their sweet ass up. Either way, in the meantime, in between time, be looking for more videos from Trev. Later.